Okay, let's turn this down. All right, so I'm going to assume that we're going. It says we have excellent connection. Okay, so a lot of crazy nonsense going on here lately. So I figured I would just jump on here and rant about these literal Nazis at this point. Yeah, it's interesting because this is something that the Republicans, back when Obama was in office, this was almost exactly something that they said that the communists and the Democrats wanted to do. I mean, practically word for word, part of it was sending in the federal enforcers to demolish the municipal police forces, and I'm pretty sure it came from that one KGB guy, that ex-KGB guy. Um, he gave his speeches and he said about how they centralized things, and then the Republicans. I'll have to dig through the internet, but I have a distinct memory of this being a specific point of rhetoric. Was that, crazily enough, exactly this, that the feds were going to, of course, use the protector bit to come and take over everything, which, as though any other the politician would have said something different. I guess the Democrats would have had slightly different rhetoric, about, I don't know, the epidemic of homeless people or something they would have had to use, but I mean, not really. You know, unless there was some disaster or something, the Democrats are kind of not able to use this law and order bullshit, so they would have had to have come up with something else. But it would have been the same general idea. We're coming to protect you. Interestingly, of course, he said we're coming to liberate you, which of course is just that Orwellian kind of double speak that they all do. No child left behind, the Patriot Act, Liberation Day again with the taxation, him and his liberation. He's really got to lean hard on this liberation nonsense because look at what he is doing at this point. And now the reason that I wanted to jump on here and make this video was because I saw Magacrats talking trash to Massie about Massie's comment that carrying a gun without a license is a constitutional right. Now, I don't think it's a so-called constitutional right. I think it's just a right. But either way, the backlash that he got from a lot of Trump supporters was insane. But it's like, this is how they get these guys. This is how the Marxists do the same thing. It's basically the same exact thing. Is they lump everybody together, and it's like look at all the people they got here. They got this guy, unauthorized use of a vehicle, but there's a commonality between all the people that they decided to either arrest or share, right? You notice that commonality. Here's another interesting commonality: carrying a pistol without a license, possession of a firearm, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, and carrying a pistol without a license. Possession of a firearm, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, and carrying a pistol without a license. They are leaning on that so hard. It's insane. Possession of a firearm, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, and carrying a pistol without a license. So as with any statist, they're going after, drug dealers. And, these guys are armed, so maybe they're doing a little bit more rough stuff than just like your local suburban pothead might be doing. But regardless, the point, as Massie stated, though I would say it differently, these people have the right to have a gun without government permission. And here is the White House's official page: unauthorized use of a vehicle. They are really leaning on government permission. Of course, why wouldn't they? They think everybody needs government permission to move around, buy and sell houses, work. So, possession of a firearm, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, and carrying a pistol without a license. Possession of a firearm, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, and carrying a pistol without a license. And then we got one guy here that comes even anywhere close to maybe being able to be rational, to be justified in some sense. Failure to appear for trial on an assault offense. So, like, an assault offense is, like, really, at this point, the only crime that seems to have been committed here, besides the government robbing all of these people of their drugs and their guns, and this guy of his liberty and his vehicle for driving around without government permission, I suppose. I'm not sure. I mean, this is pretty vague. I mean, maybe he was trying to run people over. I'm sure they would have hit him with something more than just that, though. So, is this literally this guy's driving around without a driver's license? And this is what the White House is putting on their page. This is what they're proud of, is preying on the same old people that they've been preying on. Drugs and people without. Well, now it's so crazy too, because I said for years, maybe I've said it on this channel, that it would take a Republican to institute drastic gun control. They would need a Republican to do it, because the people who have all the guns, they worship the state. It just kind of goes that way. They worship the police and stuff. So, I mean, there's like a weird contradiction in those guys' minds, right? But if the point is that they would need to get a Republican to do it, because the Republicans themselves, the common folk, they're not going to listen to a Democrat. But if they could get a Republican to do stuff, and this is like the Overton window type stuff, man. Like, same thing like before, a little bump stock here, bailout here, bailout there, a little bump stock, meddle around with this, meddle around with trade controls, give them the golden share. We're going to go a little bit. It's not direct nationalization, but we've got veto power over the production of a company, of a corporation that has foreign ownership. I mean, that's textbook socialism, fascism even. So, I would say that's his most direct fascist policy, aside from just generally being a bonehead socialist and economic nationalist. But now look at this. This is them. This is the 2A people. But they're just like, if these people are such bad people, and it's like, I'm saying, like, so interestingly, I'm like, I'm reluctant to say, this commonality between pretty much everybody except this one guy. And of course, the other commonality is nobody here actually, as far as I could tell, has committed a real crime, except for maybe this guy, an assault offense. Literally the only guy who, according to their own charges here, has done violence or threatened anybody or tried to harm or violate anybody else's rights. And this is what these people are putting up here. It's only got 1,000 likes. It's got 1.1 on that, 1.1 on like everyone. This one's got 2K. They must really dislike this guy's hair or something. I don't know. That one's got 900 more. That one's got 2,000. Yeah, interesting. What the fuck? That's interesting too. Like, that's fucking weird. I mean, this is getting pretty heavily conspiratorial, obviously. But I mean, psychology matters, and I think there's definitely some kind of interesting point. But my point here was just that one's got 28K. That's interesting. The only dude who's actually got a crime, allegedly charged with a crime here, has got the 28K, and then we got all this insane, like they like trickle it in there. They hit him with this, and then most, they see that, and then I mean, it's like this is like off in their periphery, off in their peripheral psyche. Like they scroll through this, and then it's like 1,000 knuckleheads like this nonsense. But overall, it's like, I mean, that's just nuts. I can't believe that this is on here. I mean, it was nuts when they posted a picture of this knucklehead as the fucking king, and it was like, yeah, they weren't just like, oh, I'm the king of the United States. It was, buried under that, him saving New York or whatnot. And but still, I mean, in my view, I didn't do it that day, but I don't think, had social media existed in like 1790 even, they would have not, that dude would have been tarred and feathered for like, what was the corollary, like parading around town on a horse dressed up as the king, just making jokes. I'm just joking. Yeah, I don't think they would have gotten down with that too much. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Carrying a pistol without a license should not be a crime anywhere in the U.S. That's ironic. Legal Latino. I mean, like, oh man. But it's like, this is the thing, is it's not a crime. It's not a crime. Doesn't matter what the state says. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of backlash, but this is almost just, I'm here making this video, but man, I mean, it's getting insane, the fact that this is going on, that these knuckleheads are posting this. No one is above the law. I mean, that's just such mindless rot. There's not too many idiots that like that, but there's enough of them, obviously. Like, I don't know. There is no crime here. Okay, yeah, this guy gets it. I mean, maybe. He gets that part of it anyway. Director of Federal Gun Owners. Nice. Okay, cool. I mean, he's probably not an anarchist, obviously, but I mean, that's nuts. This is insane. This guy's literally got the feds storming through. Here's another thing too, like conspiracy talk, kind of like DC. That's the stronghold. That's the citadel. So it makes sense that they in that conspiracy thread, if you're going that way, it would make sense that they would lock that down. Of course they'll come for. I mean, he said he wanted to expand it, and he said he wanted to extend it. So. And people, and this happened a couple of days ago, and there had been chatter between people, and I spoke to a couple other individuals, and this was just my concern. Was just, I mean, number one, I mean, it's completely illegitimate from my perspective to begin with, being an anarchist, but even from like a laissez-faire or classical liberal perspective, and even like a constitutionalist perspective, regardless of what their laws or even their own what their constitution says. This is still just the state strong-arming the entire society, of course, under the guise of law and order. I mean, they always do that. Like, what do you think they're going to say? We're coming over because we're fascists. We're just going to take over. They realize that they can't do that anymore. I mean, because here now, like I said, we've got this merger of this corporate power. He shoved the government guns in the corporation and U.S. Steel. I mean, like I said, he's generally a collectivist with his trade controls, collectivist economics, tariffs, migration regulation, price controls he spoke of, bandied about price controls on credit cards, talking about they're charging too much interest. Like, how do you even utter those words and you're not a socialist? You don't say those words unless you're a socialist. The credit cards, and believe it, you like really mean it. You might be like, dang, this interest rate's out of control, but you would understand if you understood market economics why that were the case, and you would then shop around for another interest rate. You wouldn't say, we need price controls. So, you start putting all that together, and it's so obvious that this dude is a socialist, and that this is a collectivist movement. They're not Marxists, obviously, but they're not that different. Marxists and fascists. These guys are a new kind of type. They're not, quote, a direct Nazi, because that's a specific group in time with specific other things. The racist aspect, though, I do find this very interesting. Racist could easily just be like, well, duh, yeah, what, I would say, I mean, what do you notice here? And they'd say the same thing, well, yeah, what do you notice here? Trying to make the point that it's like, oh, it's black people doing crime. And it's like, bro, none of these are even crimes. The only dude who's got a crime on his record is this dude right here, potentially, alleged, right? Like, these guys have no idea what they're talking about. They, and I said weeks ago, months ago, whatever, you guys are stumbling right into the shit that you claim that you hate. Like, this is a collectivist fascist movement, man. Especially now after the whole corporate thing with U.S. Steel and this nonsense. They'll rationalize all this too. They'll say it's not gun control. They're not taking our guns away or whatever, and they'll just look at these individuals and no doubt make something up to basically say, well, no doubt they're criminals. Look at them, or which might not even be a racial thing. It might just be like, look at this guy's hair. I mean, I don't know what these old conservatives believe, man. So they can just, this guy, he looks like I don't know, he's just, I don't know, some nerd who got caught up in it, but who knows, he might be the worst of them all, serial killer. I don't know, man. I don't know these people. Government page is bandying about as if it were something to be proud of, is literally the exact same insanity that the Democrats believe, and the same shit that these same MAGA crap people just, I mean, this could have been 10 months ago. And Joe Biden would have done this, and it would have been over with, and we had to listen to these boneheads repeat this stuff that they didn't even understand, obviously, and repeat for fucking decades at this point. And this just goes to show dude, anybody supports Donald Trump and makes excuses for this has no idea what they're talking about at all. And they're at this point, man, it's like they're probably not even worth attempting to engage with in topics such as this. Because anybody that tries to make excuses for this, as soon as they try to go off into, oh well, what was he doing to get picked up, or they had to have his eye on him for something. It's that none of that matters, dude. None of that matters, because what they got picked up for, that's all they got picked up for, dude. Having a gun with no license. So, if that's the case, if this dude's a bad dude, then tell that story. Be like, this dude is a suspected murderer. But you ain't got nothing on him being a suspected murderer. Otherwise, they'd have done that. They'd have put that up there. They would not have been trying to edge these people into more direct fascism by gloating about how they just rounded people up for having drugs and guns without government permission. So, yeah. Like I said months ago, you guys need to open your eyes, because you're marching right into this socialist nonsense you say you hate, but at this point, if you are to make excuses for this, it is well too late for you. So, yeah, that was supposed to end